Hey everybody, welcome to Get Busy Watching! I'm your host Honest Dan. Let's talk movies. Let's start my annual top and bottom lists with the ones that were in between. The top 5 pleasant surprises and the top 5 most disappointing films of 2023. But first, let's get that definition out of the way. In the case of the pleasant surprises, I had a lukewarm expectation that was otherwise surpassed and was a bit more enjoyable than I thought. This is not to say the movie was necessarily good, maybe it was, but it was better than expected. The same goes for the disappointments. I had a level of expectation that was otherwise not met. This doesn't mean the movies were necessarily bad, maybe they were, but the experience was lesser than I would have liked. I should also note that I'm not doing a top 5 best bad list consisting of movies that were so bad they were enjoyable. I just didn't see any that fit that criteria, other than maybe Hidden Strike with Jackie Chan and John Cena. With that out of the way, let's get this list started with the top 5 disappointing films of 2023. First, a pair of honorable mentions.
I'm done running.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. It's a good flick, and one hell of an end to a beloved series. But as much as I love the drama, I didn't love the comedy. Much as I love the High Evolutionary, I didn't love Star-Lord. By no means bad, but it could have been better.
It says maximum 20 people.
That's 6 Greeks.
My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3. Even a holdover from a bygone era of superior rom-coms couldn't help but be a jumbled mess that tries too hard. Love some of the talent, but I think it's time the Greek family retired. Number 5. Legion of Superheroes. I am a Warner Animation Group fiend. I loved their New 52 series, and felt that this new Tomorrowverse had promise. But as the installments kept coming, the worse they seemed to get. And the biggest disappointment was Supergirl's debut. Never mind that certain key things that get the entire plot started make no sense, like Superman being gifted a tennis ball that can take him to the future whenever he wants, but the story itself. It's a Hallmark movie. It's about Supergirl starting off hating Brainiac, but the two eventually develop a romance. It's also a fish out of water high school story, where Supergirl is trying to fit in with her peers, but is having problems. And occasionally, we get an action scene. Yes, the appearance of a proper Brainiac was twisted and awesome, but also too little too late. WAG fell way off the deep end here, and it hurt my soul. Though it was probably my least favorite of their animated outing in a long time, their worst was yet to come.
Nope, I'm done, you're done, trading over. You two are out!
Number 4. The Blackening. I went in hoping this would spoof the horror genre, where it showcases the meme that every black person would never make the mistakes that white people make in these things. What I ultimately got was a flick that loves to point out what's happening, but these characters do next to nothing to show they're any smarter than any dumb white person in a slasher situation. It spends way too much time developing the characters and their interpersonal relationships, and I just never cared about them, despite the admittedly solid acting from the actors. And even the whole racist board game gimmick feels abandoned halfway through. Yeah, sure, there's a few gags here and there that got a laugh out of me, but it's otherwise a pale imitator of the Scary Movie franchise.
This is hella disturbing. Why the hell is this in this house?
This was not in any of the reviews, but guess what? It's about to be.
Number 3. Heart of Stone. Dude, this one kinda hurts. Mostly because I want Gal Gadot to have a career, since it's still kind of up in the air if she's gonna survive James Gunn's reboot of the DC movie franchise. Much as I love her as Wonder Woman, and I hate the idea that 1984 will be her final proper outing, I want to support her future endeavors. But I hope to God that this sci-fi spy action flick is not the best she gets moving forward. It sure starts off strong with a paragliding action scene, and she's flying her neon glowing parachute down a snowy, tree-heavy mountain at high speed, and Gal does continue to sell her action scenes, still being a competent action girl. But the portrayal of the CIA being the dumbest mofos on the face of the earth, Jamie Dornan being the surprise villain who somehow knows about the super secret spy organization that Gal works for, and it's even more super secret AI computer that knows everything, and he is somehow able to outsmart every single one of them for no discernible reason. It's enough to drive you mad. What also sucks is that it's nearly impossible to not compare it to Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, which had a similar surface level idea, and this just falls painfully short. I will never not love Gal Gadot, but she deserves way better than this.
The heart's an amazing tool, but that's all it is. If we only follow the odds, then we'll never do anything in spite of the odds.
Number 2. The Boy and the Heron. With great remorse, I haven't seen enough Studio Ghibli films. I've seen a few, but not the ones that I really need to, and one that nearly destroyed my desire to watch any more. I was grateful to see them stick to hand-drawn animation, as, once again, I've seen what happens when they tried to go 3D, and it was abysmal. And this was a proper Hayao Miyazaki project, so I could only assume it had artistic merit. For the most part, it does. The animation is gorgeous. The opening fire scene with Mahito racing to his mother's burning hospital. I've seen horror films with less impact. For the first half, I really thought I understood what the point was. A grieving boy trying to deal with the death of his mother, dutifully being respectful of his aunt Natsuko, despite being totally indifferent toward her, and having a rough go at school with bullies, self-harm. It was like this was symbolism of a soldier with PTSD. I was all in. But then the true brunt of the plot started, and that's when things started to shift completely. When Mahito enters the fantastical world within the mysterious tower, where this netherworldly gray heron tells him his dead mother is and where Natsuko disappeared into, he doesn't react like any kid would. Like, one of his protector grannies gets sucked in with him, but reappears as a younger, stronger version of herself. But he doesn't really react, despite knowing who she is. And this isn't like a grand twist or anything, he figures it out pretty quick. Or even when he meets the younger version of his mother, Hime, he doesn't recognize her, even though she refers to Natsuko as her younger sister. So does he know that Hime is a younger version of his mother? Does she know that he's her future son? By the end, she acknowledges it. He doesn't ask any questions to clear up what exactly is going on to smooth out what is really happening here or why. More power to those who have enjoyed this and understand what it's going for. I have looked into it a bit and see now that I was kind of wrong in my interpretations, but I liked what I was getting out of it initially. It's just too bad that momentum wasn't consistent.
Your mother, she's awaiting your rescue. I'll be your guide.
And my number one disappointing film of 2023 is Resident Evil Death Island. Definitely my biggest disappointment of the year. This really hurt. I love the animated Resident Evil movies, flaws and all. Sometimes, especially when it came to Vendetta, I loved it because of its flaws. I was holding out that the Netflix miniseries Infinite Darkness would be the worst it gets, but that is now rivaled by this. I guess for all intents and purposes, I don't hate this installment. I don't. It has good things about it. Especially in the climax, where all of the main playable protagonists from the mainline games come together in an Avengers-style shoot-'em-up, had me squeeing like a girl watching Mamma Mia. I love that Jill Valentine gets some love, and Claire Redfield continues her streak of being one of the most consistently best characters in all of Resident Evil. However, this was my most anticipated flick of the year. I was salivating for this. And where it disappoints, it's a gut check. The villain is incredibly lame and forgettable and makes no sense. Oh, I experienced pain. Now the world must suffer for it. I'm a glorified security officer, but I'm also a super genius when it comes to making freaky viruses that turn people into zombies. Dude, blow me. And even though I'm happy as hell to see Jill make her canonical debut since Resident Evil 5, I'm not happy with her portrayal, as she's nothing like her previous appearances in the games. Though she sure is a whole lot like her RE3 remake depiction, and that wasn't agreeable either. It's a mixed bag to be sure, but I wanted a whole lot better, and I really didn't get it. I'll still watch it from time to time, but man, the flaws hold it back more than it did in the past.
Glad you're back.
So am I.
And now, moving on to the top 10 pleasant surprises. Here is an honorable mention.
With Willy Wonka's wild and wonderful wishy-washy Wonka Walker, please don't make me say that again, Tiddles gets to run, and I can have fun.
Wonka. I thought this would be trash, but I found a surprising amount to enjoy. Timothée Chalamet was kind of fun as a young Willy Wonka, and Hugh Grant as an Oompa Loompa stole the show, and there are a couple of good scenes. It doesn't hold my interest the entire time, and it gets unfocused a lot, but it's not as bad as I thought. Number 5. The Boogeyman. This was a surprise because the title alone makes you think this should have been abandoned in the January-February lineup where horror flicks go to die. But that's not what I walked away with. It subverts a few character tropes that I generally hate in similar stories like this, where the moody teenager reeling from a death in the family is usually unlikable, giving everyone attitude and hiding behind her pain as the reason why. But this main character is actually nice. Yes, she's moody, but she doesn't mouth off. She's mourning her mother's death and you can tell is trying to connect with her father, but he's even more closed off than she is, creating a dynamic that worked really well. Of course, it probably sounds like I'm describing a sad drama rather than a spookums, and that's why this movie isn't all that good. It does feel like the horror elements are tacked on to an effective family drama. Also, the boogeyman monster doesn't look like a man. It sure mimics human voices in a creepy way, but it just looks like a jacked up monster dog. But for its disjointed nature, I do enjoy the human elements and there are some effective scenes. Hard to recommend for die-hard fans of creature features, and may not impress everyone, but I found value in it. Number 4. No hard feelings. Let's face facts here, Jennifer Lawrence is kind of a dingus.
Doing Hunger Games, nobody had ever put a woman in the lead of an action movie because it wouldn't work.
I'm sorry, what?
But I can't help but enjoy her adorable personality and her uncanny ability to surprise me when she actually churns out a good performance. And No Hard Feelings is just that. While certainly problematic when you think about it, a 30-something woman stalking a young man to essentially have sex with him, as hired by his parents no less, all in exchange for a new car, you know social media would have been up in arms about this if it was a man stalking a girl. But if you can forgive that, there is a surprising amount of charm that carried me through to the end. Not a whole lot of laughs per se, outside of J-Law's naked fight scene at the beach.
Marissa Tomei and the wrestler, but we haven't seen Jennifer Lawrence's boobs at all.
Twice now, Seth. Just had to wait 10 years, bro. I won't pretend it breaks any ground. You watch it once, there's no reason to watch it again. But for what it is, it has its cute moments and certainly ends in a way that I wish more rom-coms would end. Nothing special, but deceptively enjoyable.
Bye, Steven!
You said nothing bad would happen. We need to find an adult.
Percy, you're an adult!
Number 3. Bird Box Barcelona. Well, this was certainly interesting. Who knew that we'd get a Bird Box sequel? Who knew we'd get that sequel from Spain? What I found most fascinating was the point of view this takes, from the perspective of someone who has seen the creatures. That's bold, as those people have a tendency to show other people the creatures and get them killed. It depicts death as a beautiful thing, a gift to be shared with the world. And he's not a lunatic per se. He's being influenced by the image of his daughter and does seem to have his moments of clarity. It's really easy for a casual watcher to not be invested in Sebastian, as he is responsible for the deaths of certain characters who are just trying to survive, but it carefully toes that line by giving him a sympathetic backstory that kind of explains why he's so unique compared to others that have seen the entities. Is it a perfect flick? Hard to say. The main villain pops out of nowhere, and times where it's pretty obvious that Sebastian isn't right in the head are completely overlooked. And some characters can be royally stupid, but if you enjoyed the original flick, I think there's something here worth seeing.
¿Estarán bien?
Claro, sus almas son libres.
Number 2. You are so not invited to my bat mitzvah. Well, looky here, a Happy Madison flick that didn't make me want to shove my face into a blender. Oh, make no mistake, it's one big coming-of-age comedy that's as cliched as it gets. Teenager wants to be popular, so screws over her friends to achieve that, but has to learn a lesson about being an asshole and how to not be one. Yeah, seen it, thanks though. But hang on now, Sonny Sandler is actually kind of charming, and Adam lets go of his ego and takes a back seat to let her talent shine? And it does a few good things that I wish more movies like this would do. There's a great moment where Sonny's character Stacy realizes that she was being awful to her best friend, and does make an effort to make things right. But it doesn't go over well and continues to make mistake after mistake. The writing is balanced enough to make her deeply flawed, but not unsympathetic where it counts. Oh sure, it's not gonna burst your sides with its humor, but for what it is, it's not bad at all.
You can have a ball pit.
Oh my god, Dad, that's for kids. I've had my period for 7 months now.
But Stacy.
That's a long period, sweetheart.
And my number 1 most pleasantly surprising film of 2023 is Strays. Well, ain't this a kick in the sack? A Will Ferrell movie that I didn't hate. Hold up, where are them flying pigs at? Yes, it's true. This R-rated talking dog movie was my biggest pleasant surprise of the year. It may not be subtle about its abusive relationship allegory, but the way it's packaged up, making the abused a lovable, adorable little dog who unconditionally loves his owner, makes too much sense. And Ferrell himself is rather enjoyable. His past work where he plays a foul-mouthed man-child works to his advantage here. If I've said it once, I'll say it again, he needs to stick to voice acting because this man-child shtick is old and tired. But not if he's voicing a character. The comedy may not be consistent, but when it hits, by God, it bludgeons. The dogs eating the mushroom scene, dark humor at its finest, and had me gasping for breath. With that said, the humor definitely hits lows that I just didn't care for. But I can't deny that I enjoyed myself quite a bit. For the first time in forever, I can praise a Will Ferrell movie.
Dad, you got it!
Oh. God! Damn! It's real! Woo. The magic fence is real!
Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I really appreciate it. Stay tuned for my upcoming bottom 10 list of 2023, and after that, my top 10 list. In the meantime, have a great day, stay safe and healthy out there, and hope to see you soon.